There are two key pillars to creating a game development business successfully. But I lost track of those two pillars. I actually know them, but the last couple of years, I just kind of failed at doing those. And being in the business for 20 years, I should know better. So I'm trying to actually fix these things this year, and hopefully I'll make it 21 years in the business. So let's see what these two pillars are. Now, there are a lot more things that you could mention that are required to make this a good business, but for the sake of this video, two things. Also, this is not my office. This is our living room, and I have not recorded a video in here for more than a year, I guess. So to all the new subscribers, welcome to our living room. Let's call this a couch session after the intro. All right, the first important thing, and yes, we have a couple of cats. See if you can spot 5 of them. There are 5 different cats running around the living room. Anyway, so the first thing that's very important is make sure that you create games within a time, within a certain scope, within a certain size, that you know your type of games can make back in revenue. That's a very different sentence. Let's say you create a very tiny, simple little game that can be played within 5 minutes. You don't want to spend a year creating that game, because people that will play it will not want to pay more than maybe $2 or $3 for it. Now, if you want to create a AAA game together with a couple of buddies, like 100 of them, you can create a very big game and it will take a lot more time, but you have all these friends, but all these friends want money. It will also be much more costly. But if it's a very good AAA game and it has the looks and the feel and all the quality that goes with it, such a game will actually hopefully make back that amount of revenue. So the key thing is to understand what kind of game are you making, how much can it actually earn in the current market, and how can you make it the quickest possible. Now, I lost track of that in the last couple of years, starting I think with Residual back in 2019, a little survival-like platformer, and it was going pretty well. The development was going very smoothly. But still, I had no experience with survival-like games, so I didn't really get everything sorted correctly, and I needed money to finish that game. So I started a Kickstarter. That actually was successful, brought in some money that allowed me to focus on the game a little bit more, and maybe too much. So I spent too much time on it. Also, due to the Kickstarter, I got in contact with a publisher. That was a lot of talking, negotiating, and changes. And now the game had a publisher and there was more money available, and the game took longer and longer. It took way too long for the type of game it was. So that was a kind of a mistake. Now financially, for me, it was very successful. Kickstarter, publisher funding, and a couple of other things happened. So the game for me was not a failure commercially or financially, but it did set me on a course of creating a big game. And that made it very difficult to make a very tiny game afterwards. So I stumbled into the next project, which was Regulators. Again, tried to do things. I wasn't really clear on what I was trying to do and how to do it. It took way too long. The game is done now, but it's been in development hell, I would say, for close to 4 years, and that's way too long for the game it is. Now it's luckily done, and it's a very cool game. It's probably my biggest game and also my coolest project with so many gameplay elements in there. I'm very proud of it. It's gonna be released and we'll see how it does, but I also worked on the game too long. I know I worked on the game too long, so that has been a couple of projects back to back where I just wasted too much time for the type of games I was making. Now this year I'm trying to fix that. Actually last year I started with Gauntlet of Power, the 3rd game in Heroes of Loot. It got released on PC. It was created in 5 months. It's still selling, but it has been profitable for the last couple of months already, and we're releasing a Switch version next Tuesday. I'll probably mention that a few more times, either in this video or next week's video. Switch version, Gauntlet of Power, March 4th, get it on Switch. Please, if you like to support me and my videos and my game development and everything that's Orangepixel, get it on Switch if you have a Switch. If you have no Switch, buy it for somebody that does have a Switch. Maybe a nephew, a niece, a aunt, a whatever. The kid next door. buy him a copy of my game. That supports me, it gives them a pretty fun game, and we're all happy. All right. Anyway, that game is profitable now, and it really opened up my eyes again that this is the path I have to follow. Make sure I know what I'm developing. Don't go crazy on big stuff and adding more and more content. My games are not selling 10,000 of copies. My games are selling thousands of copies on as many platforms as possible. That's pretty much where my strength is. I should stick to that. And that's why I'm now working on Space Grunts, trying to fit all that in 5-month development as well, which is going pretty well. And I hope to actually get back on track with my business that way. Okay, that's point 1. Create games faster, smarter, within scope, and make sure that during development you know that what this game is going to be and how much it could realistically earn in today's market. And that brings us to the next point. Once you have games available and ready to go and releasing games, the next key thing, a very important thing, is distribution. Get your games everywhere. Another thing that I see a lot of game developers do is release a game, and once it's done launching and it didn't do as well, they abandon it. They just don't look at it anymore and they just move on to the next, or they actually move on to something else completely, which is understandable. This market is rough, but if you're staying in the market, keep your games and maintain your games and try to keep them running for as long as possible, because that's where your value is in the company. Now, the last 2 years I had a rough patch in my private life, which made it very hard to maintain these things in the Orangepixel world, I guess, because I am Orangepixel. If I'm not working, nobody is working. So it was very hard for me to keep these things up and running, and I dropped the ball here and there. But this year, besides doing all these releases on different platforms and building new games, I'm also focusing more on getting my games back up and running on as many platforms as possible. So at the beginning of this year, I started putting my mobile versions, my Android versions, on the Amazon App Store, on the Samsung Galaxy Store, and I think another one, can't remember which one. Sadly to say that Amazon just announced that in June their whole Amazon App Store will stop working on everything except their own Fire tablets, I think. Now that certainly makes their store very uninteresting for most people. Already was doing very little there, but I noticed that I'm actually making money on the Samsung Galaxy Store. So that's a good thing, it hasn't been for nothing. Now having these mobile versions up and running on many different stores is great, but I need a long tail on my PC games, and that's where I have been struggling. Of course there's Steam, my games are on Steam. I put them on itch.io, I've put them on Humble Store, but ever since IGN took over, or Ziff Media, not sure what the mother company is, but since they took over the Humble Store, it's a lot less interesting. I also had Residual on GOG. I have no games on Epic Games. GOG, whatever their name is these days, I had a very hard and rough time communicating with them or getting my other games on there. Now I'm not sure what their policy is on which games get on there. I just know that my games have not gotten on there, and I honestly couldn't really be bothered getting into that whole fight and struggle to get my games on there. I should have done that because that's pretty much part of the business. Now these are the most known stores, and Epic Games, I skipped them because they now also have a $100 fee to get your game on there. But I know it's gonna be very tough for me to get that $100 back from sales on Epic Game Store. Maybe if I could do a deal with them to get a couple of my games on there as a bundle pack for free, whatever, that could be interesting, but I'm too small to get there. And that's finally where we actually reached the whole purpose of making this video. Last week a press release went out, and I should have it on screen right about now, which is an interesting one. HandyGames is a company that I've known for many years. They are 5 years older than Orangepixel is, so I think they started in 2000, 1999, somewhere around that. Also on mobile, we've crossed paths many times on mobile. They actually have been distributing my mobile games to different markets that I can't get on myself, but they can. Now after the last year and a few videos I made about the situation I'm in and I have been in for the last year, Chris contacted me and we had a very fun talk, a good talk, And he thinks that Orangepixel Games, together with HandyGames, can do more. And the long tail of my PC versions can actually be more interesting than they are now. It all made sense for me in the way that they are bigger. They are part of THQ Nordic, so they have an even bigger company above them, and they have many partner companies. All in all, it's a really simple numbers game. They can probably get a lot more things done than I can do on my own as a single person, which is still literally what I am. One man running Orangepixel and everything around it. A big company like that has a lot of people doing a lot of different things. I mean, as soon as we had the contracts and everything signed, I started getting in contact with a PR guy, with a distributor guy, with you name it. There are just multiple people that are now taking my games and hopefully get them into special things, special stores that I didn't even know existed. Could be country based. Certain countries have other stores and things like that. It could be a physical location like a cafe or a bar or whatever where they have games available, or a library maybe. Things like that, but also deals, bundles, all these things that are number games. And you only get into these type of things if you have big numbers. Now I have 10 games that are still being maintained. I think actually a couple more. So that's actually still a fairly decent library for a solo game developer. But it's not big. It's not big enough in terms of sales and revenue. It's enough for me as a solo developer. But in the bigger whole of the game industry and just these stores, it's just nothing. It's not interesting for these parties to do anything with the Orangepixel games. But now the Orangepixel games are part of a bigger collection, a bigger thing. And hopefully there's more momentum there to get stuff done and to get a long-term tail on my PC games, to get more revenue coming in from the existing catalog, because that's what's missing right now. I have all these existing games. They're all still as much fun as they were when I released them, but it's very hard to get eyeballs on games that already exist, especially on Steam. People just wishlist stuff and buy stuff and it's in backlogs and they don't look at it. And then there's a huge amount of games they don't even look at or buy or wishlist. So it's very hard to get eyeballs on games that are older, even though they are still maintained and kept running on more modern systems. Getting revenue on these games should be possible. That should be the business. It has always worked like that before. There's no reason it shouldn't work now. And that's what this deal will hopefully get me. More revenue from my existing catalog so that I can use that revenue to pay for new games that then release and bring in extra money, and then also move into this backlog of games. That's pretty much the deal, and I'm very excited about it. I'm hopeful that it's all working out. Right now I don't know, it's very early days. Let's see how it ends up at the end of the year. But yeah, Chris and his team have been on this from day one. As soon as the contracts were signed, and we tried to do all that very fast. We had a very good talk. We had it all wrapped up pretty quickly, and they started doing things with the games already. Noticed the games already popping up here and there on places that I didn't know they existed. So we'll see how this all ends up. So to sum it up, there are two things that are very important. Make sure you create games within a good amount of time that you can actually make back the investment on it. Second point, try to keep your games alive and try to get them everywhere possible, everywhere that they can be played by everybody. Now, it is not just about getting revenue from these games, but the fact that your game is seen, that your brand is seen, your game title. Make sure that these things circulate so that when you release a new game and you can say, hey, I'm the guy who created Heroes of Loot, I'm the guy who created Gunslugs, people will actually recognize it from seeing it somewhere on their favorite store, on this weird website or whatever. Making sure everything is out there, that is just very important. And I have dropped the ball on that a little bit in the last couple of years. So those are the two things that I'm actually working on this year to get back on track. And that's it for this week's video. Nothing else to say because it was already a lot of stuff on a couch. The couch session. We should bring this back every now and then. Haven't recorded here for a long time. And don't forget, March 4th, Tuesday, Gauntlet of Power will be available on the Switch. If you want to support me, Orangepixel, my free videos, my games, everything, the best way is to just buy my game. pretty much. If you don't have a Switch, buy it for somebody you know who has a Switch, or buy the PC version. Buy it wherever you can, and it will come to mobile. It will come to Atari VCS next month. It's not done yet. Like I said, I'm pushing my games everywhere, and I'm working on the next game already. So lots of stuff coming this year. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know how many cats you spotted in the video, or you think you spotted in the video. There are 2 black cats that look similar, and 1 cat I know you have not spotted because he's hiding somewhere underneath somewhere. So I'm pretty sure you have not seen all the cats that we have. If you have nothing to comment, but you do like to let me know that you've watched the whole video and you appreciate the videos, drop the word cats in the comments below. And it will also help these videos get attention from YouTube algorithm and push them a little bit more into the public knowledge. That sounds weird, but yeah, let's go with it. Thanks for watching. Bye.